Amongst the glitz and glamour of Santorini lies one of the great, if not greatest, archaeological site of the Cyclades, Akrotiri. The present excavation dates from the 16th century BC. To put this in perspective, this was over 1,000 years before the Persian invasions of Greece and the beginning of the Golden Age of Athens during the classical period. When we admire the striking cliffs of Santorini, we are actually staring at the caldera of a volcano. It was the eruption of this very volcano in the 16th century BC that covered Akrotiri in a deep layer of volcanic ash, thereby preserving it. The archaeological site of Akrotiri is on the southern end of the island of Santorini, officially known as the island of Thera. Just as an aside, the name Santorini comes from crusaders who named the island after a church dedicated to Saint Irene, Santa Irini. Excavations indicate that Akrotiri was a major city, evidenced by government buildings, several multi-story family structures, exquisite furniture, indoor plumbing, and amongst the most well-preserved frescoes from the late Middle Bronze Age period. The residents of Akrotiri clearly had ample warning that an impending eruption was about to take place, as the excavation reveals a paucity of household possessions, as well as the absence of skeletal remains attributable to the eruption. It appears that a fairly organized evacuation of the city did take place. The frescoes of Akrotiri are striking in their similarities with those found with the Minoan civilization on the neighboring island of Crete, although this is somewhat unsurprising. Crete is quite close to Akrotiri, and it's said that they are visible to one another on clear days. The famous ship fresco excavated from Akrotiri and displayed at the Museum of Prehistoric Thera in Santorini is still not fully understood. It may represent the return of a naval fleet following a victory, a religious procession, or perhaps a depiction of maritime relations with their neighbors. Regardless of the nature of this fresco, it clearly indicates a strong naval tradition necessary for trade, which undoubtedly took place with the Minoans in Crete. Their proximity to one another has always raised questions as to the nature of their relationship. At Akrotiri, they have excavated the Minoan horns of consecration that have also been excavated from various Minoan sites in Crete. Was Akrotiri a settlement colony of Minoans from Crete? This is unlikely, since archaeological evidence suggests continuous habitation of Akrotiri since the early Bronze Age, well before any evidence of Minoan contact with the island. The next question would be, was Akrotiri a governed colony by Minoans? Again, the evidence does not suggest this. There's no evidence of a Minoan administrative building, a fort where a garrison of Minoan soldiers would be quartered, or even remnants of Minoan weapons or armor. Given the similarities in their frescoes, mutual use of the Minoan Linear A written language, as well as Minoan weight and measurement standards, they undoubtedly influence one another tremendously. However, there is an argument to be made that they were two separate peoples, both politically as well as culturally. The continuing excavation at Akrotiri is bound to further clarify this ongoing debate. One of the most iconic frescoes from Akrotiri is that of the boxing children housed in the National Archaeological Museum in Athens. Many have interpreted this fresco to be a depiction of an initiation rite. Of note is that the boy on the left wears jewelry while the boy on the right does not, indicating differing social statuses and suggesting that this initiation applied to all boys of a certain age, regardless of class. The artwork is also notable for accurately depicting the proportionality of children. When we compare this fresco with that of the young man in the fisherman fresco, we see that the artist took into consideration the proportionality of a child. The boxing children fresco depicts the children with heads proportionally larger to their bodies, with poorly defined shoulders and biceps when compared to the youth in the fisherman fresco. However, there's also similarity in that the adolescent youth in the fisherman fresco and the children from the boxing children fresco both depict shaved heads with locks of hair, suggesting that they have yet to transition to adulthood. This proportionality in depicting people of differing ages is certainly an advanced artistic technique for Middle Bronze Age cultures. Other advanced artistic techniques are displayed in the Blue Monkey fresco. A significant sense of motion is conveyed through the bent arms and knees of the monkeys as they hang, climb, and crouch as might be expected in nature. In one case, we see a monkey moving in one direction with the head turned around as if alerted to something behind him. Furthermore, one of the monkeys is seen staring at the viewer, a rare instance when the subject is not depicted in side profile, and an effective technique to engage the viewer in the escapades of the monkey. When we take a look back at the monkey with the turned head, suggesting something occurring in the center of the mosaic, we can't help but wonder if the artist was subtly implying that it was the viewer that was causing the disturbance. The fresco's use of movement is fairly unique when we consider the artwork that has been excavated so far during the late Middle Bronze Age period in the wider Mediterranean. Before you ask, monkeys are not native to Santorini, and the motion conveyed in the fresco suggests that the artist had seen these animals in real life while traveling abroad, attesting to the international interconnectivity that already existed in the late Middle Bronze Age. In fact, the Blue Monkey fresco speaks to the great importance placed on movement and nature to the residents of Akrotiri. The stunning three-walled spring fresco depicts lilies growing from the almost undulating volcanic rock of Santorini. Above, swallows are depicted in movement, interacting with one another. In this jug recovered from Akrotiri, a dolphin is depicted leaping from the ocean. A similar scene is depicted in this elongated piece of pottery. These depictions of nature and motion are exciting when compared to static depictions of rulers found in other civilizations from this period. That the residents of Akrotiri chose to depict nature in this manner, playfully and almost reverentially, speaks to the close relationship and understanding they had of their environment, a viewpoint that modern society could continue to benefit from. If you enjoyed this talk, please like, comment, subscribe, and check out my other videos on antiquity.